Hi, everybody. Welcome into Sports Talk Chicago. My name's Jon Zaghloul. Great to have you here. On Channel 59.3, BPOD TV and Roku. Draft night is here. We're going to do a mock draft for the Bears and talk about who they might be tied to come tonight. It should be a great draft for the Bears and for their future here with Ryan Poles. It all comes up in just a second. Before we get started, make sure you follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Jon Z Sports and on Facebook at Jon Zaghloul. You to watch more of this show, search up Sports Talk Chicago on YouTube or go to sportstalkchicago.com. You to watch more shows from the BPOD TV network. Search up BPOD TV on YouTube. I want to start today with this. Ryan Pace's first draft yielded Kevin White. So I hope Ryan Poles won't do worse than that. This is Ryan Poles' first draft for the Bears. I would hope it's not going to be Kevin White Part 2. A big bust with his first draft, his first pick. I doubt that's going to happen. The Bears don't have the 7th overall pick. It's a completely different situation. But let's all remember the last GM that the Bears had his first ever pick as the Bears GM, as the Bears head talent evaluator, Kevin White. I would hope for a different fate for Ryan Poles and for the Bears. We know what the Bears need. We know what they should be addressing in this draft. Here's what I'd like already, what I've seen already that I like from Ryan Poles. He understands the positions of need for this team. Offensive line, cornerback, wide receiver. Not in any particular order, but all three of those positions need work for the Bears. He's committed to not spending money, Ryan Poles, meaning he's targeting the draft big time to make moves for this team. And that's fine by me. I have no issue with that at all. I will say this, though. Remember last year's draft? Fields, Borum, Jenkins, bunch of guys. Herbert, Daz Newsome. I remember the day after the final results, final day of drafting, everybody praised Ryan Pace. Everybody said, hey, great draft, writing letters of apology publicly on Twitter, on Instagram, and saying overall it's an A draft for the Bears, not just for Justin Fields, but for everybody else they got. Well, the fact is, a year later, Ryan Pace is fired. And now he's back in Atlanta. Probably going to go screw up their team. But regardless, the fact is, it might have seemed like a great draft in the moment. But as we sit here a year later, not so much. Or somewhat so, but really not enough was done in that draft. Ryan Poles, unfortunately, is already working with one hand tied behind his back. He has no first-round pick, couple of seconds, which is going to be good, and those are going to be very interesting picks. And, of course, the rest of the draft to make some decisions. What I'm looking for here, before we even get into players, how similar will Ryan Poles be to Ryan Pace? And how different will he be? Look, if Ryan Poles was brought in to be different than Ryan Pace, to be better, right? Then this is his first chance to prove it. Head coach was really number one, 1A. 1B is going to be the draft. 1B is going to be the draft. Who's he targeting? Who will he grab with the picks that he has? Will he move up? Will he trade back? And will these picks turn out to be any good? Will he draft based on positional needs or best available player? Talked to Randy Mueller, former NFL GM, on this program about a month ago. We talked about the draft. He told me he never drafted based on need, but based on talent. So what will Ryan Poles do? Is Ryan Poles going to draft based on positional need or based on, hey, who's the best player available when we get our chance to pick? Each round that we pick. The Bears have picks at number 39, number 48, and number 71 in rounds 2 and 3, and then up to round 5 at number 148. So these first 3 picks, which I'm going to cover today, are going to be crucial for the Bears. We know what their needs are. We don't know who's going to be available either. Heard some rumors that the Bears may trade up into the first round to get Chris Olave. I'm not going to put that as part of my mock draft, but I wouldn't rule it out. I mean, it's possible. I don't see the upside in trading for Chris Olave, going up into the first round, losing more draft capital, but maybe the Bears do want to do it. If it's Justin Fields' guy, they may do it. And I will actually praise that move if it happened, only for the sense that they're listening to their quarterback. Right now, I'm going to give you my mock draft. 2 picks in the second round and 1 in the third round. I firmly believe at number 39, the Bears are going to take a wide receiver. There are some who believe it's going to be a cornerback. I think in one of these 3, there will be a cornerback taken, but a wide receiver is going to be the key at number 39. When you look at the wide receivers, the ones being ranked right now, unfortunately for the Bears, they're not going to get these top guys. Garrett Wilson, Jamison Williams, Drake London, Chris Olave. I think right now, for the Bears at number 39, it's going to be George Pickens. Now, Pickens last year, shortened season, 5 catches for 107 yards, but known to be a deep threat. Averaged for his career 15 yards per catch at Georgia, 6'3", 200 pounds. There's been a lot of hype surrounding his name. He would be a deep threat, and to me, if he caught on in his rookie year, he could easily become the number 1 over Darnell Mooney. Remember, Darnell Mooney, 5th-round pick. Another guy who could be replaceable if he does not produce again. Remember, Mooney last year, 1,000 yards, that's great. I want to see more. 1 year of 1,000 yards in a 17-game season does not convince me that he is automatically a number 1 big-time wide receiver. There have been hundreds of receivers who posted a 1,000-yard season and then completely tailed off, even in Bears history. Remember Marty Booker? That's a recent reference, but still. Brandon Lloyd left the Bears, went to Denver, led the league in receiving yards 1 year, then tailed off. There are tons of guys who catch on based on the situation, based on the quarterback, based on the scheme that work for a year or two, and tail off. George Pickens has more raw talent than Darnell Mooney. He does, physically and overall. Bigger school, higher rated prospect. He does. So if George Pickens could be drafted by the Bears at number 39, and he could prove himself this year, he could end up being the number 1. And that's what I think the Bears have to really focus on, especially with those 2 picks in the second round. Find somebody who could be your number 1 wide receiver. Do not trust fully Darnell Mooney. And that's not a controversial opinion. The fact is, if there's a highly talented wide receiver, and you're picking, and you know you need a wide receiver, and there's somebody there, take him. Nothing's wrong with a little bit of competition. There is nothing wrong with competing for the number 1 spot with Darnell Mooney. Competition brings out the best in people. That's not even a cliche, it's the truth. Darnell Mooney actually has real competition this year, not, Allen Robinson's being sabotaged. There's really no other option, so by default, I'm number 1. If there's a difference, it's going to either make him play better, or conversely, we're going to see the true Darnell Mooney, which is probably a number 2. So I think Pickens is the answer for the Bears at number 39. You got to remember this, too. The Bears could get another wide receiver at number 48. Christian Watson is somebody to look out for. I'm not going to put him in that category, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Bears took a look at him. It could even go as early as number 39. So keep that in mind. I think the Bears will go quarterback or safety, though, with that pick at number 48. Jalen Peter from Baylor. I think that's who the Bears might take at 48. Kind of a sneaky pick. Ended up working out pretty well. Peter played 5 seasons at Butler because of the COVID year, and last year really killed it. 2 interceptions, 3.5 sacks, 18.5 tackles for loss, and 75 tackles overall at Baylor. He was good. And I think that's exactly what the Bears could use in their secondary. May not be the sexy pick. Everybody might be wondering, another wide receiver at number 48 or offensive lineman. If Peter's on the board, take him. That would be an outstanding pick. You need help in your secondary, and this guy's proven. 14 games this year, 75 tackles, 18.5 tackles for loss, 3.5 sacks, 2 picks. He did it all last year with Baylor. You need somebody like that in your defense, especially since it's already depleted with the loss of Khalil Mack and potentially the loss of Robert Quinn. And you need secondary help. The Bears' secondary was atrocious last year. You're still paying Eddie Jackson. You still have guys out there, sure, but why not reinforce it with an upstart rookie who's actually proven himself at Baylor? Here's your chance. So right now, I'm thinking Pickens at 39, Peter at 48, and then at round 3 at 71, I'm going to say Jamari Salyer, offensive lineman from Georgia. Here's a quote on Salyer. He's played every position on the line with Georgia, played 2 positions during the national championship game, too, against Alabama. The Bears could use him to play somewhere on the line, and the fact that he is transitional, that he could play multiple positions, is really going to help out his case. Not even just for the Bears, for any team interested. This article here from Full Press Coverage said he could end up at left tackle or even right guard. The fact that he has experience at pretty much every position on the offensive line, I think makes him a very attractive candidate for the Bears. And I would take him no matter what. The fact that he's so easy to plug and play wherever you want to put him, the Bears better watch out for him. And take him if you can, if he's on the board. That'd be an outstanding pick. I would applaud that all day long. The Bears need offensive line help. We all know this. And grabbing somebody who's not only a top prospect from Georgia, but who at the same time has experience playing a bunch of different positions. That'd be golden. So I'm going to go with Pickens, Peter, and Salyer for my top 3 picks for the Bears this year. Could be wrong, could be right. Last year, I thought Tevin Jenkins was going to go round 1 for the Bears, and instead they got him round 2. These are mock drafts. I am not connected to the Bears, and as you heard again from Randy Mueller when we talked, GMs do not pay attention to mock drafts. They do their own about a week before the draft. So all these mock drafts that all your favorite insiders put out, that even I put out, mean nothing to the Bears. They don't even look at them. They don't even care. These are all just predictions about what the Bears could do or may do. That's it. Nothing special. Not a big deal. Just an idea. These are guys who I would be happy with if the Bears targeted and drafted. That's it. Simple as that. I don't care if I'm wrong or right. What I care about is, are the Bears improving themselves in this draft? I'd rather be dead wrong knowing that the Bears made a real move to make themselves better for next year. That's the point of the draft. Ryan Poles does not want to spend money. He wants to build through the draft. Remember his big quote from when he came in. I want to build through the draft. Well, here's your chance to start. And here's your chance to prove what you told all of us back in January, February. Want to build through this draft? Prove it now. Let's start. Let's go. You really can't do much worse than Kevin White at number 7 overall by Ryan Pace, either. So the expectations should be a little bit tempered, but pretty much anything besides a Kevin White-esque move, you're fine. Just don't do that. You're going to learn one thing from Ryan Pace. Don't do that. There may not be much to learn from Ryan Pace. I guess you could learn from his mistakes, not really from his successes, because there weren't really any. But if you're going to learn from his mistakes, do not take a Kevin White. Don't move up and take somebody with legitimate injury concerns and a history. That's why I didn't like the Tevin Jenkins move. And to this day, I'm still skeptical about it. Everybody knew about back problems for him. The Bears still took him. Oh, out with back problems. Didn't really make sense to me. I don't know what Ryan Pace saw in him or what he did see that superseded the injury history. Not sure. Maybe that's why he's fired. Well, there are a lot of reasons. I wish Ryan Poles and the Bears the best of luck. They need it. And here's their time to make some significant moves that are going to help out the team. Significant moves. See, these are more significant than your free agent signings. And here's why. A lot of these guys are going to be budget contracts because they're rookie deals. And on top of it, if you can build around them, if they end up being good, these are farm hands. These are guys raised on your team who could be with you for the long haul. Look at Roquan Smith. Roquan Smith is one of the best linebackers in football, statistically. And the fact is, you can't just go out and find somebody like Roquan Smith on the free agent market, on the trade market. You can't. That was a draft gem from Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy. That's why the draft is important in general. And the NFL draft is specifically even more important than NBA or MLB, because the fact is there is no minor leagues. You are drafted and you are expected to be on the roster game one starting. Quarterbacks are, everybody is for the most part, unless you're a late round pick. If you are one of the top picks in the NFL draft, you are expected to perform and start game one in just a couple of months. That's what makes it so intriguing and so special. And that's why for the Bears, who are already proclaiming that they're on a budget, that they're not trying to spend too much money, that they want to build through the draft, this is your time. This is your time to shine. This is how you prove that what you said, all the talk, could translate into results. You touted the draft. You said it'd be a big deal. You want to build through it? Then show it now. And that's why I'm excited. I'm intrigued. I can't wait to see what they do. They've been touting the draft. They've been proclaiming and bragging about the draft for a couple of months. Here's your chance. Let's prove it. Let's do it. Let's make some fiscally responsible yet shrewd and smart moves in this draft to prepare the team for not next year, the year after. This is what's so intriguing. This is Ryan Poles' first draft. That's exciting. Brand new GM, guy who wants to build through the draft. Now he's getting a chance to do it. I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty excited just in general to see what happens. Good or bad. I want to see. I want to know exactly how this is going to go, what they decide or not decide to do, whether or not it's going to be a successful draft come Monday when we find out, when I make a video about it. So I really hope for the best for Ryan Poles, Matt Eberflus, Bears front office. This is really the biggest indicator of Ryan Poles and his awareness with his job. Even more than the head coach, because at the end of the day, the head coach is a character hire. Ryan Poles was a talent evaluator, a college scout for years in Kansas City. This should be his wheelhouse, his bread and butter. He should know what he's doing when it comes to this draft. This is what he's done for 10 years in KC. Now he's doing it here. It's his wheelhouse. This is what he knows best, even better than hiring coaches. He knows this, number one. This is his background. This is what he knows. This is what he's done in KC. Did the same thing here. Started. Prove it to everybody. You know what you need. You know what picks you have and what you could do to move up or move down. You know what Justin Fields maybe wants or Matt Eberflus maybe wants. You make the decisions. You can finally show that it's your time to shine and that the Bears weren't stupid in hiring you as GM. Thanks for watching today's show here on BPOD TV, channel 59.3 in Roku. Really appreciate the time. Remember, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Jon Z Sports and on Facebook at Jon Zaghloul. You to watch more of this show, search up Sports Talk Chicago on YouTube or go to sportstalkchicago.com and make sure you tune in every night right here at 10:30 on BPOD TV. So long, everyone.